All right, we are back. This is Creativity is the Cure. I'm your host, Malcolm Moore, and today I have my good friend, Joe Testa, with me today. How you doing, Joe?
I'm well, man. Good to talk to you.
Where are you talking to us from today?
I am currently in Bradenton, Florida, which is just south of Tampa and just north of Sarasota. This is where I live now. So,
How long have you been there? You went down during the pandemic, or?
yeah, it's been 4 years. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was, we were in, everybody was working from home.
Right.
And one day my wife kind of came to me. She says, if you have to work from home, do you have to do it in the cold?
Brilliant,
so
brilliant wife.
I was like, I didn't think. I was like, it's it's just totally matter of fact, like just totally common sense. She's great like that. And so I was like, well, don't never go for it. There's no way. And so I asked, and I have to be honest, John Steffen's our CEO, and of course Craigie Zildjian and the family were so gracious about it. It really was a life changer thing for the family and everything, the son, and just some people need that more than others, sometimes when you're in that overcast kind of environment, it plays a part in your emotions, you know what I mean? And so anyways, we moved down and I've been working from my house, and, I travel as much as needed. I go up to the office all the time, and
right.
we have, Eric Gross in the main office in Norwell. And he maintains the daily flow that's going on there, and we're in touch every day. So actually, we haven't really missed a beat. It's been kind of cool. And most people don't even know I've been living down here, because it's just, we never missed a beat, which, thank God, it's been great, so.
That's good. Yeah. We, as you know, my wife and I, Christine, we grew up in Rochester, New York, as did you. After a while, I think when I got my 40s, like, you know what, Christine, I don't want to shovel anymore. And so we moved out to LA, and we still love LA, but about a year ago we bought a house in Palmdale, and it's so beautiful and so quiet and peaceful out here, and I can be back in LA in like 50 minutes. So we are enjoying really, today it's actually like 75 right now, and I'll probably go up to 90, but it's a very dry heat. Is it really humid where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest with you, man. I love California.
Yeah.
Like, the weather is just outstanding. Like, I think that there's a couple things that are really attractive to California. One is the weather, just the fact that you can be in the mountains and then be on the beach in the same day.
Yeah.
But and the creativity that all kind of flocks there, or in the past has done so. But there are a lot of negatives, like trying to pay for things,
right? Yeah.
And a lot of other things that just kind of, after a while, if you really put it on paper, you're kind of like, okay, so I'm living here for the weather. So only
wait, don't forget,
after a while, it's like,
we have a lot of good drummers too, right?
Yeah, well, no, that's what I mean. The creative side is unparalleled. I mean, you could probably argue Nashville's really coming on strong pretty quick now. But but when you're single, California, especially LA, is amazing.
Yeah.
And when you get married, it's okay.
Right.
When you have kids, it's really difficult. I'm sure everybody's different, but that was my experience. And so, as much as I wish I could import the weather, but here, I have to say, yes, it is humid, right? This time of year, we're in August. It's going to be humid.
Right.
There's probably 3 months of really hot, humid weather. And then the rest of it can be hot or just amazing for the rest of the year. So not as good as California weather, especially the San Diego, LA area. It's just unparalleled. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But the rest of the country, you're kind of like, you know what? I'll take the 3 hot months over the shoveling snow, and not knowing what their weather is going to be like for about 9 months,
Yeah.
So anyways. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and then you guys have got some great musicians down there too. You've got Iggy Pop, the one and only down there.
Yeah. And a lot of guys come down here, they either have a second home here, or like I know I didn't even know this, but like I did know Carmine Apiso's down here, and Nico McBrain was down here.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of cats that live down here.
Down there. Wow.
I'm probably not even thinking of all of them right now, but there's a few that live down here, or they come down at different times. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure with what you do for a living, which we'll get into in a second, you run into a lot of your buddies that are on tour, right?
Oh yeah. Tampa's a pretty big spot. Orlando, obviously. I try to not go into Orlando as much because it's just such a cluster when it comes to traffic. It's just they're always working on the free. I mean, it's just so many people have moved down here. It's gotten crazy.
Well,
But
it's like LA, right? I learned pretty quickly it's not where you're traveling, it's when you're traveling.
yes, that is 100% true. I mean, it's nothing like LA, traffic. When you look at it, like you said, the last 4 years, the amount of people who've moved here, it's really increased huge,
Yeah.
in a huge way, so.
Well, let's let everybody know what you do for a living for those that don't. You are currently at Vic Firth Zildjian. You're the vice president of artist relations. I saw an interview that you did a while ago, and I liked what you said on there to describe your job. You said, "My title is Vice President of Artist Relations. My fundamental job description is to oversee the A&R programs for all the brands under the Zildjian umbrella, such as Zildjian, Vic Firth, and Balter Mallets. This includes all the percussion genres, such as drum set, marching, band, and orchestral." Would you add anything to that?
No, that kind of summarizes it, really. I mean, there's a lot of marketing that our department influences the marketing. It's a weird thing. Like when you look at especially the music manufacturing business, instrument business, the AR department sometimes falls under, or many times falls under marketing.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because there's a lot of marketing that's involved. But at Zildjian, what we do is we keep it an independent department, but it's almost like a different side of the same coin with marketing. So we're working with them like on a daily basis. I mean, you could argue one day we are in the marketing department, and the other days you would argue we're not. So it depends on what the particular function is of that day. But it works hand in hand, and it kind of has to. It's just inevitable. If you want to use name, images, and likenesses of your artist in marketing, well, you're going to have to work with the marketing department. It just works that way, and that's kind of the fun part. That's a lot of the fun part of the job too. So,
Yeah, keep those. You build the relationships with the drummers, but then, like you said, you're going to use their image to promote your brand. So, making everybody happy on both sides. That's a complex job, and you're one of the best out there that do that.
Oh, you're kind. I don't know if that's true. I be honest with you, and I'm not saying it's just to be. It's very true. We at Zildjian have literally, in my opinion, some of the best AR people. In the current position I have, I'm still in the trenches a little bit with some of the guys, but the team that works with me is the ones doing a lot more of the work, the day-to-day work. They're the ones that are, having artist visits and handling with them, going to a lot more shows than I do.
Right.
So I'm kind of managing the department as a whole. And obviously, if they can't come to a decision on something, I have to be the tiebreaker on it. But for the most part, I mean, the team is unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really good people, and they're just really well respected and been in the industry a long time. When you add up all the years of experience, it's pretty solid. So,
let's tell everybody how we know each other. I was trying to think when I woke up this morning. We probably started to know who each other were because a long time ago in the 90s, I worked at this place in Rochester, New York called the House of Guitars. Very well known, huge store with 8 floors of music. So I'm sure we started talking then, and you were working for Yamaha, if I believe. And then around 2000, I moved to Philly, and I worked at Medley Music for a while. And you and I started to know each other. And then I remember you called me once. It was probably Steve Gadd that recommended me because I was doing his website. Do you remember this? I was making MySpace pages for your drummers, if anybody remembers what those are. So
oh
great.
My gosh.
I woke up and I was like, wow, will anybody remember MySpace? But yeah, that's what we did. And you turned me on to like maybe 20 Yamaha drummers, and I built relationships and helped them get their stuff out there before everything switched to Facebook and Instagram, right?
There was a tight connection with you via Jerry Marotta.
Oh, Jerry Marotta.
Well.
That's right. At that time, I was running his website too. Yeah, I used to do a lot more.
Was Jerry before you started working with Steve?
That's hard to remember.
Because I don't know, for some reason that's the order I remember. I remember talking to you about Jerry, and then suddenly you were doing also Steve, and you were
Chris Parker,
and I can't remember. Maybe the order I got wrong, but I just remember a lot of talks about you with Jerry. I remember Jerry said, "Oh, this guy's great, really helping out," and
that makes sense. At that time, because I lived in Rochester, as you know, it was easy to just drive 4 hours up to Woodstock and hang out with Jerry. And that makes sense. And then, I mean, Steve, as everybody knows, is from Rochester. So eventually made that connection and started working with him too. But I woke up today and I was like, wow, MySpace. How old am I?
That's so funny. That went by quick, didn't it? MySpace. It seemed like it was quick.
It's so, I've been, I just completed being a teacher for elementary school and middle school for 12 years. And boy, the technology, it got to the point that last year, if I couldn't figure out something on my iPhone, I would hand it to a student. And these kids that are, 10 years old can whip through here. And I had no idea that on YouTube, you can take a recording and slow it down and it doesn't change the pitch. And I was telling my students, boy, when I was younger, I had a record player. If I wanted to figure out a Buddy Rich part, I'd have to slow it down to 16, but it would be like really slow, right?
Yeah, that's so true. The technology thing is crazy. It's on one side it's horrifying, and on the other side it's exciting.
Yeah, agreed.
I get a little concerned because it seems like sometimes we're doing things because we can and not considering should we do it? Like, we can do it, but should we do it? Like, I'm not sure who's putting in the ethics or has any ethics.
I think it's, know what though? I've talked about this with so many people. I think something like AI, it's here to stay whether you like it or not. It does good things. It can also hurt things. And I always bring up this story that, when the drum machine came out, you and I both remember, for a little bit, it kind of put a lot of drummers out. But our buddy Omar Hakim, I remember he was the guy that came out and said, you know what I did? I bought a drum machine, learned how to use it, and I said, you can hire me to program, play drums, or both. And I thought that was brilliant. And I think about that. Yeah. I think about that today because we got to do that with AI. We don't want to put people out of work. But for somebody like my younger son, Caleb, who programs video games, it's going to help you with the coding. You're going to spend more time being creative than doing stuff that used to take you hours before.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm trying to look at it like it's a tool, like it's a hammer. You can build a house with it, or you can do some damage to something with it, right? Like, so it's really all in the hands of the people who use it, and whether they're going to do good with it or do bad with it. And there's always going to be both. Hopefully, there'll be more good than bad.
Yeah, and then after spending most of my time since I've lived here in California for 12 years, I still work with students. You know what's really hopeful is they're all into bands that really play live. Now, I love electronic music, but when I'm teaching private drum lessons, they'll bring me like a Kendrick Lamar song or a Chappell Roan song, and I can tell that it's all done on a computer. So we have to figure out a way to play it. But then the great thing is they're like, oh, have you heard of Nirvana or Stone Temple Pilots or James Brown? And I think a lot of the young kids are back into bands that have to be able to play live. And I'll never forget one time I was teaching kids about Stevie Wonder. So I played him doing a performance of Superstition. I think it was like 1975 or something. And they were blown away and they're like, oh man, definitely auto-tune. And I stopped the recording. I was like, no. I was like, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Back then, if you were a singer, you had to be able to sing or it wasn't going to happen. And I said, if you played a tambourine part, if you're like Jerry Marotta, who's a great tambourine player, you played it all the way through the song. You didn't do 4 bars and then loop it. I was like, it was a different time. And, there were standards of talent you had to live up to. It's great that we have these tools, but it blows the kids' minds when they realize that, someone like David Bowie, he had such good pitch. He would just go in and nail it on the first take. It was just...
I wonder, that's a really interesting point. I wonder if the kids think, wow, that's amazing that people were that talented. Or if they think, wow, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
You could have knocked it out,
right.
moved on. It's like, so I don't know. It's like funny, but we're of course like I'm enamored with guys who could do that. I mean, the guys who can go in and cut a track in one take and it's flawless. You're kind of like, holy crap, it's unbelievable.
Well, and let's look at, there's so many good examples, like someone like Steve Gadd, when he does his solo albums, he loves to get in a room and they actually, this would probably confuse a lot of younger people, but they actually sit in a room and they play, they hit start and then stop, and that's how they record. But over the years, we've seen people like Dave Grohl and Foo Fighters, they're going to do the same thing. They're doing a rock album, but they're going to go record in his garage and play it live. And if they make a mistake, the joke. If you make a mistake, you do it twice, and now it's a riff, right?
Yeah, that's actually true. A lot of mistakes became amazing things, on recorded excellence, you know what I mean? Considered. And, when you take all the mistakes out, you take a little bit of that humanity out of it, and it gets a little sterile sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's why the youth is flocking to the live shows too.
Yeah.
Because, you want to see, wow, people can do this live. It's actually, and of course there's a lot of loops and stuff that tracks they're playing to as well now.
But that's equally challenging. When I first got to California,
that's really hard.
I did a lot of gigs, and I would often be like, okay, someone hires me. I've got the click in my left ear. I've got the stems and the loops in my right ear, but I want to pull it out a little bit so I can hear the stage. And I'm playing to some pre-recorded tracks. I mean, I think it's
an art form.
Equally challenging.
Yeah, where I really the first time I heard that done at a level where it was like, I'm sure I had heard it before, but where I really realized that, where I was like, wow, that's incredible, was the live Peter Gabriel with Manu.
Oh, yeah.
The way he plays to the track makes it sound like the track is live. Like he's so good at making it feel like a real... He's incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, a lot of guys can do that, but like I remember that was the first record I heard and have wore out, just playing it over and over again, just going, man, this is so
you're talking
amazing.
About the Secret World. He really lets it breathe in there.
Oh gosh, it's unbelievable how good he is at it. It's like, wow, it's just.
And then over time, I've become good friends with Donnie Wynn, who did most of the popular stuff with Robert Palmer, and he was telling me about the technology back then. Playing with loops when there were just drum machines, and the advent of monitors and being able to hear yourself. I think recently John Dechristopher did this roundtable of all the drummers that played at Live Aid, and I think out of all of them, only one had monitors, and I was like, "What? How did?"
Yeah, that's terrifying, right? As a drummer, to think that you have no monitors on stage. It's like, what?
But this, like, as soon as you're like you and me, and you've done tons of gigs and you've had everything go wrong. I've had my cymbals stolen. I've had things broken while I was playing. And so when I go help young kids today with bands, I'm like, it's okay. I was like, okay, if this happens, what do? No matter what, you keep going.
Yep. That's the difference. It's you just got to keep playing. You just got to get through it.
Yeah. And sometimes they're happy accidents and really cool stuff happens.
Yeah.
All right, so before we move on to some really fun questions, I would like to go way back in time. What is your first creative memory?
That's a tough one because, I mean, you can, you remember as a little kid creating forts or, in the woods. So that's what we used to do. You'd had to be more creative because there wasn't any of the digital world that would kind of distract you from. I think there's a distraction element that happens today in the electric world. I mean, it's a different kind of creativity, really. Yeah. But when you don't have any tools like that, you have to use your brain more, I think, in trying to figure out, how do I make the physical realm around me be creative? Like, how do I create with that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll go in the woods or I build a snow fort or whatever, things like that. But like, I think when I think back, other than those kind of things or drawing or writing or something like that, and when I was in bands playing drums, it was always fun to create the arrangements with new tunes and things. But the thing that really like kind of clicked for me was when I sat at the piano and started writing songs.
Wow, I didn't know you wrote songs. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've actually done it because I just had to raise 4 kids, and it's just there's only so much time in a day. It's incredible. But yeah, I don't know why, for whatever reason, when I decided I was going to go into music, I started tooling around a little bit on the piano, and for whatever reason, it kind of came natural to me to put chords together without even knowing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's people seem to be like it. And, you know, and that encourages you. Like when someone likes your creativity or something you created, you get inspired to do it more. And I don't know if that's an attention thing or what it is, but I think, you know, when you create something, I think that it's very an intimate thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're sharing something with people. If you do share it, I mean, you don't have to, but if you share something you've created, you're kind of putting yourself out there a bit, because people could just say, I hate that. That's awful.
Yeah, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, but it sounds like you're saying if you do that, you can get validation. And it doesn't need to be like raging ego. It's just like, you know, this is telling me that I exist and somebody accepts what I'm creating.
Yeah, and it also, if it speaks to them in some way, doesn't have to be profoundly, but if it does, if they're like, oh, I like that, that's nice. Can you keep, you know, I like it when you play or when you do that. You're kind of like, okay, I'm making someone feel better with something I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of a nice thing, you know. So
it's like
I think that would be the thing.
You're learning to have a place in the world.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. The thing I started doing is from a creative standpoint that really grabbed a hold of me, you know.
What did you guys have, a upright piano or a grand piano?
Yeah. My mom, because when I decided I was going to go to school for music, she was like, "Well, you're going to have to learn the piano. You're going to have to learn something." So she got an upright piano, and I just started tooling around on it. And before I knew it, I had a friend come over who could sing, and she started singing, and I wrote words, and you know, it just kind of happened, and it was exciting. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Like to take an idea or expand upon it and keep pushing it until it kind of comes into form.
Yeah.
To where you can go, that's pretty cool. You know, I did that. Like you know, it's like you've been listening to songs on the radio your whole life. Suddenly you wrote your own song.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or not, it's another that could be debated. But you did something. You're like, okay, I can do this. You know, and you just keep pushing it around.
Do you remember the name of your first song?
I do. It was called Maybe Someday.
Oh, that's cool. And did you guys have a band name?
No, in fact, this is what's weird. I was always in like hard rock bands, or you know, I was a kid of the '80s, you know, so I was playing. We were playing, you know, the whole Sunset Strip thing was our catalog,
right?
The whole, you know, from Motley Crue to Van Halen to Dokken to Rat to AC/DC to whatever, you know, all that stuff was what we played. But then when I played the piano, I wrote nothing like that.
Right.
Nothing. It wasn't even close. So it was never like much of a band thing. And then eventually I would get the guitar player and I'd have him come over, and when I would play the chords and teach me, he would rock it up. You know what I mean? So, so then it would become a little more rock and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you know, it was a little different. It was like two different parallel universes going on at the same time. You know.
When I was younger, I was kind of doing the same thing, and I made some bands, but of course, I didn't even know what a 4-track was, and I didn't know that you could buy personal recorders. So my dad had I have 3 siblings. We each got a realistic cassette player for Christmas. Nobody really wanted to use theirs except mine. So I took all 4 of them, and I kind of built a 4-track without knowing it. I put the drums on one, and then I put the piano on the other, and I started bouncing them. So
that's genius.
It was interesting. I didn't realize till later. I was like, oh my God, I made a 4-track. But you know, a lot of times I couldn't get a band of kids together, and I just wanted to record things myself. And I knew a lot of my heroes like Stevie Wonder and Paul McCartney, they played all the parts. So I had to start thinking about, okay, I'm going to put the drums down first, but then I've got to remember in my head where I am in the song. Did you?
That's genius. Yeah, that's really cool. See, that's such a creative thing to do. So I ended up writing a couple tunes, and I wanted to record. Well, the first song, that Maybe Someday song, I actually went to a recording studio in Rochester, and I can't remember the name of this place. Oh, okay. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but I was a senior in high school at the time, and I remember bringing my drums down and brought a bunch of musicians in to kind of play down the track, and we did it, and it came out fairly terrible, but it was great for the time. It just was,
Right.
if I listen back now, I cringe, but it was fun. It was an amazing experience,
Yeah.
and then eventually, I went first year of college. I met one of my best friends, and he said, "Oh man, there's a guy back in Rochester who has this little studio in his house." And his name was Matt and Guarnere, I think his last name.
Of
Guarnere
course.
was
I know,
it.
Matt. Yeah.
He's crazy, but in a great way. Like
Incredible
he's
singer, songwriter, and engineer.
yeah, yeah, and he played some stuff, and I was like, wow, this guy's crazy. I love it. And he's like, yeah, well, I like it too, man. We'll record it. And so happened to be one of the more rocking tunes. So we went to his house, and he had he really knew what he was doing. I mean, this is when you had to cut tape with a razor,
No,
and all that
he's
stuff.
the real deal. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and I can't even imagine what he's doing now. But this is back in the '80s, like late '80s, right? So we recorded a song there, and it came out even way better than what I did it was just really great, and it was because of him. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And so I was inspired. So I eventually somehow got an 8-track tape, and then started doing some stuff in my basement and kind of doing that kind of thing. So it was fun. But you know what, Mel? What's crazy as a drummer first?
Yeah.
I for whatever reason, when I wrote songs, I think there's only like 2 songs that I actually played drums on. The rest of them I actually programmed.
Yeah. What did you use
with
to
a
program?
drum machine?
Which drum machine did you have?
It was I think a Yamaha RY30, if I remember. I think I still have it.
Wow. I forgot about that one.
I think because I just learned how to do it, and it was like faster. Like I didn't have mics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
you want to get the idea down.
Yeah, and it's hard to press record and play the drum. You know what I mean? Like at the time, there wasn't technology.
People don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
You want to put your mixer right next to the drums. Yeah, you got to run over. And I remember actually bringing back to Omar. I remember seeing a photo of him in Modern Drummer magazine in his studio, and this is a long time ago. But he had everything around him, almost like a donut, so he could control it from sitting at the drums. And that I was like, okay, I need to rethink how I set everything up.
Yeah, that's the real deal right there, right? But like at the time when you're a kid, it's like, okay, I got to run over, hit record, and run back to the drums and try to get your head right. And it's like, I'm just going to program this so I can get onto the other parts and get guys in, So,
if you play drums, people are going to be like, why do the drums always come in 8 measures after the beginning of your song?
Exactly. It's like I gotta create these long intros.
Yeah. Well, I remember going to studio for the first time, and I didn't know what a click track was. I mean, of course I knew what a metronome was, but back then it was that little thing that went back and forth on top of the piano. It wasn't until what was that, like the Boss DB88? I think that was the first metronome I had, and we all had to learn to play to a click. Do you remember the first time you had to play to a drum machine or a click?
No, it's funny, I've been doing that more as of late. I mean, I always played with a click when I was practicing snare drum or things like try to get your tempo in, you know, and I don't know. I think this is maybe crazy, but I feel very fortunate that, like, so going back to house guitars, the first vinyl record I ever bought with my own money.
Yeah.
I had other records, but the one I bought was Back in Black in 1980. It was December at the House Guitars. I walked in there, bought that record.
Yeah.
I wore that record out so bad I had to buy it again, right?
Yeah.
So, but the time on that, Phil Rudd's time is so unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I played to that.
Like
I think that's how I got my sense of time at first. I'm not saying I sound like Phil. Don't that's not what I'm saying. But if you practice to that record, the time's so good that it's kind of like playing to a metronome in a weird way, but with some feel. And so that's where I kind of got that solid. But as of late, I started playing again because I hadn't played in a while because, like I said, I was raising the kids and it just wasn't enough time. So I started playing again recently, and I've been trying to use that, a click. And man, it's quite the challenge, to actually play with it, like and make it feel okay and not get messed up or get confused about, if you go to do a fill and you don't come out exactly right and you're like, It's a great tool though. I mean, it's an amazing thing. I'm using, and I think I want to know what you're using, but what I'm using now is the Tama Rhythm Watch. I think Gadd uses that, and that's where I got the idea from.
I love those, but I'll be honest. Just being busy, being a teacher, and we raised 2 kids, I just use the app on my phone. It's just easier because I have a Roland kit where I can connect the Bluetooth to the Roland kit. And whether I'm playing a song or doing a metronome or stuff like that, it's just easier. It's it's
sense.
just like when iPhones came out, I'm like, why do I wear a watch? I don't need two things that tell me what time it is.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I recently, what I did was I bought this pedal that I attached to the remote input on the rhythm watch.
Yeah.
And then I have the out going into a little mixing board.
Yeah.
So I can control and hear and I could just start to click.
Yeah.
And then I can either and that way, if I start playing and the band wants to take it faster, I could just turn it off while I'm playing.
Yeah.
With my left heel, I just kind of. So I've been doing that, and so that's been that's been fun. There was a Yamaha had something called, I don't know if you will remember this. There was something called the Click Station.
It sounds familiar.
This thing was amazing. It was the rhythm watch, but it also had a button that vibrate the tempo. So. Sometimes if you look down at a metronome, you're looking at the blinking light,
right,
to get a tempo. Like if you can't hear it, if you're just looking,
right, yeah. If you're at a club,
you look at sometimes the light will you get a little
latency
used a bit, yeah.
Too.
So if you put your finger on the Click Station, you were able to put your finger on a button and feel it. It would go bzz, bzz.
Wait a minute, didn't somebody? I remember J.R. Robinson was using like a drum throne that you could have vibrations from the sound system going there so you could feel it. I think that was similar.
There's one of those. Yeah, there's something like that too. I guess you could put a click through that too. Yeah. Well, it was great. I mean, they ended up killing that product because I think they couldn't get the part. I guess they were getting from China or something like that. And the company where it got made went under or something. So they had to discontinue the product for whatever reason. But that was really great. That was pretty cool.
You're reminding me of two things. I wish I could remember the company. I remember when I still lived in Rochester, I was playing these gigs in Buffalo, and the band leader let me borrow this thing that I would put on my cymbal stand. And from the vibrations, it would tell me the tempo I was playing at. So it was great. Instead of having to hear a click, I would just look at the number and say, okay, I know my tempo is the same. I wish I could still get one of those because they were really great.
That sounds really
it's a little
cool.
more natural, especially if you're playing in a song where you have to speed up.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then the other thing I tell my students too when they get nervous about their time is I tell them to bring back to Steve Gadd, whoever he's playing with, he's got his little metronome there, and he'll take a second before every song and make sure the tempo is right. Now, you'd think with somebody like Steve, who's master of time, he wouldn't need it, but I think it's great to see that somebody like that is so humble that he's saying, I don't want the fact that I'm excited about this song to mess with the tempo at all.
This is exactly where I got it from him. Because I don't use the click sometimes all the way through the song. I use it to start tune out because, and I don't know if you've ever found this. This is crazy to me. I don't understand why sometimes say 105 sounds or feels fast and sometimes it feels slow. Why does that happen? It's the same.
Yeah.
But you as a human being, you feel it differently because your excitement or whatever. And man, if you're excited and you got to play a certain tempo, it's almost painful. Yeah. This is where Steve is so unbelievably good at. Yes. He checks it and he just completely, it's like he almost just resets his whole body to the new tempo and lets everything go and just starts at that tempo and makes it feel amazing. It's incredible. It's like, it's a case study in excellence in drumming.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm sure you brought up a good point. I think your perception of time changes depending on your environment. If I'm here alone in my studio, really relaxed, 105 might feel one way, but if I've got a huge crowd of people, your heart starts beating. Of course, you're going to perceive that slightly.
It's incredible, right? I'm finding that to be something that's just, I don't know. I'm just completely, I got this renewal in drumming now lately as of like going to start playing again. And I'm just like, I love the fact that happens just because I want it. It's a challenge. And I just find it exciting to try to deal with it,
Yeah. I want to ask you about when you were growing up, were your parents creative, and do you find yourself today going, wow, I get that creative part of myself from my dad or from my mom?
Well, yeah, in different ways. Like my dad is a carpenter, Like my dad could literally build a house by himself. He knows how to do all that stuff, and
Wow.
he's just very talented that way. It's not that he would take something and build like a piece of furniture that he could do that, but it's not that. That's not what he did. It was more just construction based. But he's really good at figuring out problems and fixing them in anything construction.
It's
My
incredible.
mom was pretty talented with she always dabbled in arts and crafts stuff.
Yeah.
She did some paintings that were really nice, things like that she would do, and she loved music. So the radio was on all the time, and
Yeah.
I remember my first memories was taking all her albums out and drawing crayons all over them,
Oh no.
yeah, it wasn't a fun
How did
it
that
wasn't
go over?
fun when she came home. Yeah, that didn't go over well. But I remember doing that, and she's like, look at the, and she's once in a while will still bring that up, like, look at you killed all my records, it's like, but it was very funny.
Wow.
But yeah, but it's always listening to records and music, and so in the car everywhere, so I had that all the time, so those were, but no music though. There really wasn't any music in the family.
Well, let me ask
They
you
loved
this,
music.
though.
Right.
I think what you do for a living, artist relations and making relationships good and strong and bringing out the best of people and recognizing certain traits, where did you get that from? Because I think that's tremendously creative.
You mean
You make it look
what
easy. I mean, building relationships with these very diverse drummers from different backgrounds, finding out what kind of gear they like to use. I don't think that's easy for everybody to do. Not everybody's a people person. Some people are introverts or extroverts. Where do you think you get that talent of making people feel comfortable from?
Well, that's 100% my mom.
Yeah.
My mom is you can't not like my mom. She's just that kind of person. She's amazing. And everybody likes her, and she's just a good person. And she likes people. And, I think I just got it from her. And so, you fall into music, and, I was never like, I mean, everybody's a little competitive, but I wasn't competitive in a way of like, enemy. Like I always liked to just get along.
Yeah.
Like I liked hanging out with people and having fun. I liked laughing. I like being with people who are funny and creative, and just let's go hang out. And if we're just hanging out, having a drink or whatever, and just talking. I love that. I don't need to do anything crazy. I just like talking to people. I find, especially if they're really good storyteller, I love listening to people tell stories. I'm actually quite enamored by it. Like when you talk to like Rick Marotta or even Jerry or his brother or Gadd, any of these guys, when they tell a story, you're like, they're really freaking good at it. Like it's like a talent in and of itself. And I love listening to those guys talk about anything, because it's just they make you laugh, or they just make you whatever. They take you on a ride, and it's great. And so I just always enjoyed that. And so when I also never, I never got starstruck.
Yeah. Really?
Like I never, I don't know why. For whatever reason, I was always like, no one's better than anybody else.
Right.
I mean, you might be a better person as far as like, you might be whatever, you're better at certain things, but in the end, we're all human.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're all flawed people. So in certain ways. And I just was like, you're really good at, I don't know, playing the drums.
Right.
And I love that. And I want to know more about how you got there. But in the end, when you go home, you still go home. You still got a wife or a husband or, family to deal with. You got all that crap that I got to deal with too. Like you're just really good at this thing. So I just want to know, give me the story of how you got there. Like, how did you become that good? Like, was it born in you? Did you get it from your family? Well, I just enjoy those stories and knowing about people as people, not so much, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think
does that make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense here. I just never. I just look at it as like, okay,
yeah, I think
my job is to take care of these guys.
I think you're bringing up a couple of good points. I've noticed the older I get, the easier it is meeting or getting to know people that are well known, because at this point I'm like, we're both dads. We both go through the same crap, and also I think you have a great ability to disarm people. And it makes me think, when I was younger, I was most influenced by Bill Bruford, the drummer. And my buddy, Robert Fraza, who was his manager from time to time, I went to see Bill once, and it was my birthday. And Robert, I'll never forget this, he surprised me. He goes, "You got 1 hour." And I walked into a room, and there was Bill. And I'll be honest, I was absolutely terrified. Not that Bill was like, a scary guy. He's in fact a very funny, kind person. And I appreciated it looking back that he started making me laugh and goof around right away, and he disarmed my nervousness. And I've seen you do that with people. So I think that's important that you use. I mean, what are the things you think you use? I know you use humor with people. How do you make these drummers, when you first meet them, feel comfortable with you?
I don't think there's I don't try to do anything specifically. I mean, if I do it, it's just, I'm just trying to get to know them.
Yeah.
Because they're humans, they're human beings.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of finding that connection. There's something there that we're going to connect on, right? Like I'm literally interested in you as a person. I want to know more about you.
Yeah.
And so I think when people are asked about themselves, they typically respond. It's like, how do you not, the only one that doesn't respond is Steve. Steve will be like, you'll ask him, "How you doing, man?" He'll say, "I'm good. How are you?" Like he flips it around all the time.
Yeah,
and it's
I love
always
that about
you.
Steve.
Yeah. And I think that's what's funny? Dig this. So my mom and Steve are the same age.
Oh, wow.
They lived literally around the block from each other.
That's crazy. I mean, that makes sense.
They didn't know each other.
Wow.
They didn't know each other. But she says, "I remember walking by hearing drums. The kid was playing drums down the street, and it had to be Steve. I don't know who else it would have been." But it's kind of a similar trait. Like they came up in the same area, where my grandparents. It's kind of got that. I try to take that example of what Steve does and trying to find out about other people, because it's way more interesting, man. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear about me. Like I don't find me interesting. I find you interesting. I want to know more about you.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe that's. I'm not trying to make it up. I mean, it's honestly how I feel most of the time. So.
No, I think that's a good way to look at life, and I'm very thankful that over the last 12 years, whenever Steve plays here, especially at Catalina, so I often will bring a couple of my students, and they're terrified when they go backstage to meet him. But right away, well, Steve, of course, says, "What kind of music are you into, man? Blah, blah, blah." And a lot of times I'll whisper to Steve, I go, "Ask him about his dog."
Yeah.
Because I know Steve loves dogs, and the kids go, "Oh, this is a really nice guy. He wants to know about my pets," So disarming. I think that Steve's great at it, and so are you. So I think that's really important quality.
Oh, thanks.
Here's a question. Do you think creativity could be implemented in curing people, or at least helping people with mental health struggles like depression or anxiety?
I would say yes and no.
Okay.
And let me explain that. I would say absolutely, because I think that a lot of people, creativity, it helps them get out of a funk. Right. Again, if you create something, people like it. It helps. It can't but help you. But then when you think about how many creative people are depressed.
Yeah.
And have done some, bad things to themselves because of it. So and some of them are the most creative people.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people we've lost very young, and they were creative, super, like they changed the world.
Right.
But so I think it could go both ways. I don't think there's just a set answer to that, because I think it's way more complicated beyond my understanding. But I think that being creative can also, if you're super creative and suddenly fame and popularity comes to you so quickly
when you're young too,
especially when you're young, I think that's very difficult, man. Yeah. I mean, I don't know for a personal fact, but I just watching and seeing what's happened throughout time, you kind of like, wow, child stars usually have some major issues they got to deal with. Not all time. I'm sure there's exceptions. But you can see creative people sometimes struggle with that. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because you feel you bear the a weight on your shoulders that you shouldn't.
Right.
You know, like people build you up into this thing where, you know, the humble thing is an important part of it. If you can, I think if you can stay humble, I think that a humbleness tied with creativity, I think, is the way to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm speaking off the top of my head here, but
no, I like that. That makes a lot of sense.
It could come back. It could come back to haunt me. I don't know. I'm not trying. I mean, I don't. What do I know? But I think that if you're creative and arrogant, I think that could probably lead to some issues. I don't know.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Or here's another one: creative and insecure, right? An insecurity. Yeah. If you don't, there's a difference between being confident and arrogant.
Yes.
Like, I don't want to keep. I mean, we keep bringing up Gadd, but he's just because he's front of mind because of our connection to Rochester, right? So, Steve is very confident in knowing who he is and what he's done in his career as a drummer.
Right.
But he's not arrogant.
Absolutely not.
There's big difference, man. Like he'll never talk about himself. He doesn't think he's the best in the world. He doesn't do any of that. But he does know he's accomplished some pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's got a certain. I'm sure he feels as though I don't want to speak for him, but I would think he knows he has a certain worth in the market, and because of what he's done. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
it's the difference is the other guys who walk around going, I played on a million tracks and I'm the best or whatever. Those guys are kind of, I don't know. They seem insecure to me because they have to try to justify what they've done. Steve doesn't need to justify nothing. No, Rick doesn't have to justify. Rick, you never hear Rick talk about. You have to ask Rick too, and he'll talk. He'll tell you anything you want to know, but he'll never come in and say, "Oh, I did this or I did that." That's not who he is.
No, if you listen to the interview I did with him recently, he's downplaying his drumming, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me, dude!" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a groove drummer, and Steve's always doing all these rudiments and stuff," and I'm like, "Rick, you're pretty damn good."
You know what's crazy about Rick is like the fact that he started when he was 17. He just didn't touch drumsticks until he was 17, and he ends up being like he did everything he did. That's insane to me.
Yeah, and I think the last time I saw Steve, which is last year, I was helping him unload his stuff for a gig, and I asked him about playing with Dave Gilmore because he did his last solo album. And Steve was so excited, almost like he was 10 years old, telling me how much fun he had recording with Dave Gilmore. And I was like, wow, this guy is eternally curious. And I love that about Steve, that, he doesn't think that he's done and seen everything. Every project he's on, he just very sharp-minded and curious and open-minded. And he's just a good example to a lot of people.
Yeah, he's always serving the music.
Yeah. He's
not serving Steve. He's serving the music, right? He's not. He literally, I think I heard an interview where he said, I listened to the demo and I was like, this song doesn't need drums. He literally turned the gig. Like he said, you don't put drums on this song. Like he's saying, like, don't hire me. Like you're wasting your money. Like this song is beautiful the way it is. I forgot what the example was, but he does that, We'll
briefly go over your career. When I met you, you were at Yamaha, and you were there for quite a while. How did you get from Yamaha to now Vic Firth and Zildjian?
Well, before Yamaha, I have to, if you want to know this, I have to explain the process because it kind of starts in college, right? So I went to the Crane School of Music in Potsdam, New York, SUNY Potsdam.
Right.
My professor there was Jim Peterzak. And so what they would do is he would audition, you had to audition to get in. And look, I was a drum set guy who played the piano, liked to fool around with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about classical instruments. I played in a marching band. I went to Bishop Kearney High School in Rochester.
Oh, wow.
We had a really good marching band. It was small, but we were modeled after drum corps. All the guys in drum corps would teach our school. It was great. And we were really good. It was really great. A lot of fun. But I wasn't a classically trained. I did the band and I did all that, but I wasn't classically trained. So you had to audition. You had to learn marimba. You had to learn timp. You had to do all the stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. So I had to Like I took out Goldenberg 8212 and I had to go, every good boy does. Okay, it's a D. Every good, oh, it's a G.
Right,
and I
right.
had to, and I memorized 8212.
Yeah.
So, and I just learned the pieces I had to audition with,
Yeah.
like to the best I could do. And then I went up for my audition, and Jim Peterzak, at the time, he was the professor, and he, as soon as I put out, he goes, okay, let me hear your marimba solo. And so I put the music up, and then I looked down at the marimba. I never looked at the music, and then he pulls the music away and he goes, sight read this. And I was like, oh crap.
Oh no, he figured you out.
But he always picked one or two people that weren't really at the level they should be to get in, because he saw something in them maybe.
Right.
And I was one of two guys that I think, at least this is my perception, that he accepted because for whatever reason. And so I got in, and the first semester was brutal, man. It was so difficult. I wanted to quit. I didn't want to even be in college. I wanted to go out to LA and be a rock star with all my friends.
Right.
It just so my dad's like, no, you can do whatever you want after you get a degree. So I went to college and I hated it. And then after the first semester, I for whatever reason, I decided I was going to come back. I said, I got to finish at least the first year. So I went back. In my first lesson, Jim was like, you don't like being yelled at, do you? It was my first lesson, second semester. I'm like, I looked at him and I was like, actually, I freaking hate it.
Of course.
And he said, yeah, I figured you out. He goes, I'm going to let you move at your own pace. And he was amazing. From that day forward, he was amazing. He let me kind of move at my own pace. He didn't push me to do. He pushed me, but not in a negative way.
What a great teacher.
I always responded better to positive reinforcement as opposed to negative, right?
Instead of
whiplash,
right?
Yeah. Some people that works for them, but for me it didn't, right?
Right.
Then he figured that out, and then from that point forward, it was great, and then he got me it was while I'm in school, the Sunset Strip scene died.
Yeah.
It was almost, providential that I didn't go. Like, it was amazing. I was blessed to not have that happen to me. I went to school. That whole scene died. All my friends were like cleaning carpets, trying to survive.
Oh man.
And I'm in school, and so I was like, well, you know what? I'll go in if I can get into the music, because I was going to be a music teacher.
Yeah.
God bless you, bro, and my wife. You guys are amazing people. I did 2 years of music ed, and then I did what was called practicum, where you have to teach these kids on campus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to kill this kid. I can't do this. And that day I was like, I'm not doing music ed because it's not good for the kid and it's not good for me. It's just, there's a no gain.
We need a poster view that says that. It's not good for the kids.
There was no gain for either side in that equation. So I was like, I got a music studies degree, and with my intent being like, I'm going to get into business and I can work in, damn gig at night or whatever.
Yeah.
So he knew. So Jim had a bunch of former students who had gone through the Crane School who were all now in the drum business or in the music business.
Right.
And one of them was down in New York at DCI Music Video. I don't know if you remember DCI.
I recently, not only do I remember, but I recently interviewed Rob Wallace.
Yes, Rob. So
that was a big deal back then, man. There was no YouTube. That was the only way to learn about drummers.
Yes, and it was just starting to happen, right? Like, we would get the tapes, the Buddy Rich tapes at school and all that stuff. And all suddenly, I get a job as a data entry person in New York City working for them, those guys.
Wow.
And so I literally drove down with a friend. We rented a house in Lynbrook, Long Island.
Yeah.
And I would have to take the train in and then walk, I think it was 17 from Penn Station, 17 blocks down, one over. That's a lot in New York. That's a lot of blocks.
Wow.
I couldn't take the subway because I couldn't afford it. I didn't know how, I took the job. I didn't know how much I was making. I just took the job because I was like, I got to get in. Like, right. I'm young. I didn't think anything of it, but I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm going to be able to buy a car. I'm going to be able to buy a house. I'm thinking, I get there. I'm worked about 2 days. My dad's like, how do you take a job and you don't ask them how much you're making? What's wrong with you? Right. And I'm like, I don't know, Dad. So I go in and I said, hey, how much am I making? And they told me, and I just didn't know what to say. And I walked out, and then I called my dad, and my dad's like, you could be making more working at McDonald's. And I was like, we literally worked, the office was literally above McDonald's in New York City. Right?
A constant
so
reminder.
It was really funny. So I went in the next day and I told my boss, I was like, I could be making the same amount of money working for McDonald's. And he got mad at me. He's like, I'm offering you a career and you're talking hamburgers. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, how am I going to survive? I can't survive on this. Like, this is not possible.
In New York City.
So then my boss went to Paul and Rob Walsh, Paul Siegel and Paul Rob, who were the owners.
Right.
And he came back and he was not happy that I even approached about it. But he said, well, we got you $1,000 more. I'm like, okay, great. But then I think it was a data entry job just to see if you were a reliable person.
Entry level.
So for 2 weeks I did data entry, and then I became customer service, and then I became sales.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry for the long story, but it kind of all ties together, and you'll see why. So then we get pulled in. My boss pulls me in. My boss at the time, his name was David Hakim. So David calls us in. He's like, look, it was three of us, three sales guy. It was Mike Finkelstein, Stu Noodleman, and myself. And we all worked for Dave. And so he called us in and he goes, listen, there's a strong possibility that we may get bought and moved. I need to know if you guys are with me or not.
Wow. And
I can't tell you any more information.
Yeah.
Now, for me, I'm a kid. I got nothing. I don't care. And I'm thinking, we're going to move. This is going to be great. It's got to be LA. So I said to him, Mike and Stu had young families. They were just starting out, but they wanted to get out of New York because it's expensive.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we're good. And I said, I just have one question. Is where we're moving, I know you can't tell us, but does it got a strong music scene? I'm trying for any hints. And he goes, absolutely. I'm like, okay, it's LA. I'm like, I'm in. Okay. So then finally the deal does go through. Comes in, we're going. He goes, where are we going? He goes, all right. So there's a guy by the name of Sandy Feldstein.
Yeah.
He is running a company called CPP Bellin. CPP was originally Columbia Pictures Publishing, but it became CPP, and then they merged with Bellin Publishing. So it was CPP/Bellin Publishing.
Right.
And they're located in Miami. And I was like, my heart just sank. I was like, Miami? Yeah, I guess it's a big music program, but I'm not thinking that. I was thinking rock and roll,
Right.
So I was like, oh, no, I don't know anybody in Miami. Like, none of my friends live in Miami. I don't know anything. And I'm like, now I'm committed. And I'm like, well, I'm 20. I don't know what it is, 23. I'm like, what do I got to lose? I'll just, whatever. So January 4th, 1992, I moved to Miami, Florida.
Wow.
And I land, and I got off the plane, and the humidity hit me, and I got a leather jacket on with long hair. And I'm like, this is awful. I hate everything about this right now. So anyways, and I didn't know anybody. It was rough, at first. And so when we were working there, we were brought into this group. They were selling sheet music and all kinds of tab books and choral music. They did all of that.
Right.
And they bought, and Sandy had the foresight to say, we got to get into the new media. And at the time was VHS tapes, instructional videos.
Right.
He saw how great that was, so he bought that. That was a genius move on his part. And Rob and Paul still were associated, so it was great. So we moved down it, but now I have to learn all the other stuff. But we were kind of experts in the music video part. I mean, we had to learn all the other stuff, and those guys had to learn the video stuff.
Yeah.
So the artist would call. Dennis Chambers would call, and he wanted some videos for himself to gift to some friends and things.
Right.
Well, the sales guys don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm not making any money selling or giving away videos to artists, right? Like so when they would call in, I said, I'll take it. Hey, we got Dennis Chambers on the phone. Who want? Oh, I got it. Dave Weckles call. I got it. I take it. So I started to get to know those. And I mean, I'm the only well, not the only drummer there, but I was the young drummer who was like all into all that stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll take it. So I kept taking all the artist calls. So
interesting.
I got to know Sandy. Sandy was an incredible person, not just from a human standpoint,
right?
But he was just a talent. He was talented writer. He wrote tons of, he wrote the Yamaha band method, but he was a percussionist. And here's what's really funny. This is how it gets weird. Sandy Feldstein was the first percussion professor at the Crane School of Music. So before Jim Peterzak, Sandy Feldstein was there.
Yeah.
Sandy Feldstein taught Gary Chafee.
Ooh,
right,
wow.
that kind of thing. So it was back then. So Sandy was there for one semester, and then he got offered a sabbatical to go work for Alfred Publishing. He did it and never went back. So he went from Alfred Publishing, then he went to C.P. Bell, and then Jim was basically his sub when he was on sabbatical, and then Jim just got the job.
Yeah.
So Jim's been there like 50 years. I think he just retired. So that's incredible, his run. But Sandy and Jim knew each other, right? So now I'm working for this guy, Sandy Feldstein, and he was an amazing guy, and he kind of took me under his wing. So when I left sales, I went into production, and I took the AR part with me because no one wanted to deal with it. So I'll keep dealing with the artists, but now I was what was called a production coordinator. And so what that meant was a new book or a new project would come through from the editor. I would take that book and go through each department, and I would maintain it getting through each of the departments throughout the company before it was a shippable product. So I brought it to the art. I bring it to print shop. I made sure it kept getting through each stage it needed to go.
Yeah.
All the while, I still was dealing with the artists.
Yeah.
That needed stuff. So I learned so much stuff. And so then Sandy was like, he started teaching me a little bit here, teaching me a little bit there, and then so Russ Miller came to pitch Sandy a book. I had met Russ at he was working at Resurrection Drums,
right,
and down in Florida, and he was a great player, great Incredible. Sales guy, great teacher. He was doing all that, right? So he was doing clinics he was like a regional artist for Yamaha at the time, and so he was doing clinics and stuff. So he had really good ability of teaching certain methods and concepts and things on the drum set. So he said, I'd love to pitch Sandy on a book idea I have. And so he did. And Sandy goes, look, it's really great, but I already got like 4 books like this.
Right.
So he's like, okay, that's totally cool. I understand. He goes, I'm going to try to publish it on my own. And Sandy goes, I think that's great. You should do it. So Russ came to me and said, hey, would you edit my book?
Oh, wow.
So I asked Sandy, and Sandy, yeah, go ahead, do it. I don't care.
That's cool.
So I edited, Russ and I worked on his book. It was called The Drum Set Crash Course.
Right.
And so we edited the book. I edited the book. He wrote it. We turned it into what I was very proud of. I thought it was great. And Russ printed it, did the whole thing, and he would be selling it at his clinics and things like that. So I took it. And so Sandy came in the office one day, and Sandy was going to Modern Drummer Festival in New Jersey to film it. This was during the time when Modern Drummer Festival was pretty hot.
Yeah. And
Sandy had just started a deal where we would film that festival. So he was going up, and I said, hey, I want you to check out this book I edited with Russ. I want to get your opinion because I want to learn, and he's like, oh yeah, by all means. And he grabbed it from me and he goes, I'll see you when I get back next weekend. I said, okay, great. It was like a Thursday or something when he left.
Right.
So I didn't think anything of it. The next Monday, I'm in the office and I'm on the phone, and he walks over and he throws the book on my desk, and I'm on the phone, right? So he throws and it's kind of startled me. I looked up at him and he gave me a thumbs up. He said, he motioned like, come see me when you're off the phone. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm on the phone. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I took the book and I opened it up. And Malcolm, if you could have took a red marker and squeezed all the ink out into the book, that's what it looked like. It looked like it went through a bloodbath. There was red markings throughout the whole book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I suck. Right. So I get off the phone and I kind of like slowly walk to his office, and I'm like, and I tap on the door, and he goes, come on in. And I'm like, I guess you didn't like it. And he spun around in his chair and he's like, are you kidding me? You think I'd spend that much time on something I didn't like? I want to publish the book and I want to go over all this stuff with you so you know what you did. And I was like, it was like complete reversal of what I thought. I was totally stunned, and he starts telling me things and showing me and blah, blah, blah.
So those were his notes, all the red marks.
Oh yeah. That was his notes. Just like, think about this, think about that. But he just, it was a lesson. I wish I still had that, actually.
That is
I wish I had that book because that was, anyway. So thus began my era of being a student of how to edit drum books and percussion books.
Yeah.
And so he was my personal teacher, and he was the best in the world. So it was like such an honor. And we became really tight, you know. And that book came out and then I did a bunch of other books with him and edited some other stuff. And that was in a time when books publishing and videos were actually popular. So somewhere around 1996-ish, I think. I forget. Well, at some point, 95, I think, or 94, 95, Warner Brothers bought CPP Bell and Warner Brothers Publishing.
Oh,
so these guys are all from New Jersey, and they came down, and they were super corporate, man.
Yeah.
Like, Sandy's like the coolest cat in the world, and like a musician, and like gets it, and like it's just the best, the perfect thing that you'd want to work for, right?
Right.
And perfect guy. And when it comes to that, and so these guys came in, and I think 2 years in, somewhere around 96 or something, maybe early 97, I forget, they didn't come to terms with Sandy's contract to let him go.
Oh,
because they had this stupid thing where it's like, if you work for the company, you can't write. You know, they were trying to cut him out of being, and that's what he loved to do.
Yeah.
You know, to write and create and stuff. And they were taking his heart out of the whole thing. Like, so it didn't work out. But when he left, I was mortified. I was just like, so they just basically took all the percussion projects that we were working on, either that he was working on, and dumped it on my desk and said, you got to do it now. Right. Yeah. And I was like, but with no title change, nothing. I was like, so the training's over. I'm now the guy, but you're not going to give me the title or so it got weird. So back to Russ, so Russ is a Yamaha artist now, and I can't remember. I think he had moved out to LA by this point.
Yeah.
And he was doing fairly well for himself. And he knew I was like, I wanted out. Like, I was over it. I was like, there's no one here to teach me anything anymore. I wanted to learn, and I can't learn anymore from anybody here.
And you guys had a good relationship too.
Yeah. And I loved the guy, and I didn't like the way he was treated. It really hurt me, to see that happen to someone. I mean, he was fine. He did fine, but it just was not cool. I don't want to work for people that would do something to someone like that. So I'm talking to Russ, and he goes, hey man, I just got back from Japan, and I was hanging out with Hagi. Hagi was the kind of the guy who ran Yamaha drums, right?
Yeah, very innovative guy.
And and so he's like, I got some info, but you can't tell anybody.
Right.
And I'm like, what's up? He said, so they're going to move Yamaha drums from, at the time, was at the band and orchestra, under the band and orchestra division in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
They're going to move it out to LA and put it under the Pro Audio Combo division again.
Right.
I guess they had done this before at some point. And I was like, oh man, I would kill that gig. I would love that gig because I was a big Yamaha fan.
Yeah.
I was a Yamaha fan, a Zildjian fan, Remo, Vic Firth. Those are my, those are the four.
I'm still right there with you. Those are the best.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. He's like, well, nobody knows about it. He goes, but maybe you should give Sandy a call. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I got off the phone with Russ. I called Sandy. I said, Sandy, I just heard that Yamaha might be moving the drums back to LA. He goes, how do you know that? And I was like, of course he knew about it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I said, Russ was, and he goes, you want that job? I'm like, yeah, I don't want to work here anymore. I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's like, all right, let me make a call. I get a phone with Sandy. I go to lunch. I come back from lunch. I got messages. Normal. So I listen to the first message, and it's Sandy. It's like, you're going to get a call from a guy named Jay Wanamaker. So just be ready for the phone call. So I don't know. Oh my gosh, is this really happening? Like, I'm kind of like a little bit like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
The next message, hey Joe, it's Jay Wanamaker. I just talked to Sandy. Love to talk to you.
Wow.
I get off the phone, and I'm kind of like, what's happening right now? Like, everything is like, it was weird. It was very surreal.
Yeah.
The phone rings. I pick it up. Hey Joe, it's Jay Wanamaker. He didn't even wait for me to call him back. Right. And I was like, oh, hi, Jay. I was like, he's like, hey, listen, can you send me your resume? Can you fax me your resume?
Facts. Right.
And I'm like, oh, sure. And blah, blah, blah. So I sent it. And then everything, it was all exciting. I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? And then there was nothing.
Yeah.
And so then there was I didn't hear anything. And I'm like, I guess this is not happening. And then he called me up. And I don't know if you remember Mars Music. Do you remember that?
Of course. Yep.
So Jay was coming down to visit Mars Music in, I think it was Fort Lauderdale. And he said, hey, do you got time for dinner? And I was like, sure, of course. So we went to dinner and he felt me out, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, okay, I'll let you know what the next steps are, but we'll probably have you come out for an interview. I was like, okay, thanks.
Whoa.
So then I didn't hear anything again. I was like, okay, I guess whatever. And then I suddenly get a call and it's like September 1997-ish. And they're asking me to come out for an interview. So I'm like, okay. So I've never done this before, right? Like I don't know anything about corporate stuff. And we're going from like I got the Warner Brothers corporate thing going on, but that was one thing. But this is the big league. This is like a big league. This is Yamaha,
yeah,
right?
In some ways you were feeling pretty green.
Oh, way green. And what I did is I printed out all the artists that I worked with at Warner Brothers, and I highlighted all the Yamaha guys.
Right.
Just to kind of get a point of reference of who actually I would have to work with, right? Because I all know these guys. So I fly out there, I get there, it's like this big building right off the 90, where is it? In Buena Park, right?
Right.
And it's this huge building, and I walk in and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a receptionist and it's like a legit business, And I'm like, at least I thought it was, And so I go upstairs, and so Jay's like, hey, Joe, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. He interviewed me, and then Jerry Andreas, who would be the head of that particular department.
Right.
A great guy. And they were looking for an AR guy, and they were looking for a product manager. And so I went in, and he goes, listen. So Jerry interviewed me, kind of talked to me, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, okay, listen, now we're going to meet the Japanese. He goes, they don't all speak English that great. So slow down your talk and keep it simple.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. He goes, all right, let's go. And we walk into the room, and there's this dude. There's like, I don't know, 8 guys from Japan.
Yeah.
And not one of them smiling. Like they're all straight, like no emotion at all.
You're thrown right into the fire.
I'm like, hey, how are you? I'm like, how's everybody doing? I'm like, hello, nice to meet you. And they're all kind of like, like, no one's smiling. Right. And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm not getting any warmth. Like, I don't know, this is completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
Like, so I sit down at the table. So then Jay turns to me, and he just told me, keep it simple. Now, I'm doing AR at this publishing company, which doesn't exist really, but it was carved out for me. I'm the product manager for everything, and then one of the product managers for doing all kinds of things there. And then I'm now the percussion editor. So I'm doing 3 different jobs. He goes, why don't you explain to Japanese what you do at Warner? And I looked at him like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Because like any one of those things is complicated to explain to these guys. Like they don't understand that. I don't think they understand the publishing world, right?
Oh boy.
So I'm trying to talk, and I am stepping all over myself, bro. And he's looking at me like, what just happened? I can't believe I vouched for this guy, right? Like he's just like, I mean, his reputation's on the line because he's bringing me in, and I'm just like, I'm peeing all over myself. And so I got my I had this paper that had all the names highlighted, and it's on my stack as I'm talking. And this guy reaches out and grabs that paper and pulls it in, and it was Hagi that did this.
Oh wow! Oh,
and he's looking at it, and then he starts to. He hadn't said anything the whole time. He'd just been looking at me.
Yeah.
And he starts asking me questions about some of the Yamaha drummers that I worked with.
Right.
He goes, you work with all these people? I was like, yeah. And he started asking me questions, and then he was like, okay, let's have pizza. I'm like, what is going on here? And the next thing I know, pizza's in there. And then they say, okay, Joe, why don't you go sit in this cubicle and hang out for a little bit? We got a couple other people, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. So I'm in the cubicle. And I'm sitting there reading some magazine going, what is happening right now? I think I can just go home and whatever.
At least you got pizza.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I felt like someone looking at me. I looked up and it was Hagi.
Yeah.
He goes, you have any questions for me? And I was like, what happened to Vinnie? Because Vinnie had left Yamaha a year before.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal at the time, you know what I
Right.
mean? And he's like, yeah, Vinnie. And then he started explaining to me the whole thing. And
Right.
and I'm trying to, just a little bit of, there's obviously an accent. So you're starting to learn how to interpret.
Right.
But we seem to get along. And so then, he's like, okay, nice talking. And he leaves. And Jen Jay comes in. He goes, come here. So we walk in. He goes, they're going to offer you the gig. And it's going to be this much money, and there's no negotiation. And we basically walk into the office, and I'm like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
And they say, we want to give you the gig. This is what it pays, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you want it? And I'm like, yes. And they were like, okay, you start October 1st.
Wow.
So I flew back, gave my 2-week notice, and I flew to LA, and then I was in LA, and then I think a week or two later, I was on my way to Japan. And I spent 1 or 2 weeks in Japan with Hagi, just learning from him.
That must have been a big culture shock for you.
Oh, yeah. I read there was a book called Culture Shock Japan, and I read that. That really helped, actually. That helped me a lot.
Wow.
But I've been on a plane before, but not for 12 freaking hours.
Yeah.
That was by yourself. And he's like, don't worry, I'll be there when you land. And he was there, and he took great care of me and introduced. I learned so much, man. That was like an amazing time of my life.
Yeah.
And so that was from 97 until 09.
That was almost like going to college for you, right? You were learning so much.
Oh, yeah. The whole time was like learning, like from out of college. That's where you really learn. College is, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to disparage college. I got 3 kids in college right now. I got a 4th going, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with college, but I think that you really learn on the job.
Yeah. Real life.
That's where you either make or break. But college is important, I think, for meeting people and connections.
Yeah, and learning concepts that you will apply in the real world later.
Yes, starting something and finishing it. That is a very important thing.
Right.
You can start a lot of things, but if you don't finish them, what good is it?
Yeah.
Right. So you got to finish something, and college makes you do that.
Yeah.
Yes. Follow through. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how long were you at Yamaha?
12 years. Well, here's a funny side story. I don't know if I should tell this. I'm going to tell it, and then you can verify whether you should believe it. So
Okay.
I accept the Yamaha gig. And then like a week later, I get a phone call from Johnny D and Colin Schofield, who worked at Zildjian.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're like, and I had met Johnny, at some of the shows, and we became very friendly. Like we were like, he's like an older brother to me in a way, right? Like, so we got along very well. It's hard not to get along with Johnny. I don't know anybody that doesn't get along with Johnny, right?
Agreed.
So him and Colin called me, and they're like, hey, we heard a rumor, and we're hoping it's not true, but are you going to be working for Yamaha? And I said, okay. How did you? I said yes, and they said, oh, and I was like, why? And they're like, we wanted to offer you the West Coast position at Zildjian.
Ooh, okay.
I'm like, guys, if you had called me even 2 weeks ago, I would have jumped on it, but I already accepted. Like I can't, And they're like, no, we understand, and just wow, our timing's terrible. And I was like, it was so crazy to have been offered the 2 companies, Yamaha and Zildjian. Like I was at that time, that was, So then I was at Yamaha, and then so I became, because of being close with Johnny, I then became close with Kelly and Tracy Firth.
Right.
Johnny was not with Kelly when I became friendly with Kelly and Tracy.
Right.
I met them at the NAMM shows. They all knew each other because they lived in the Boston area. I got to know them through the NAMM shows and stuff like that, and we became very friendly because we all kind of just was fun people, good people, and got to know each other. And so Kelly decided to retire in 99. So she called me and asked me, she goes, do you think you'd be interested in working at Vic? And I had only been 2 years at Yamaha, and I was like, and I was loving LA. Like I was, it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
All my buddies were there. It was just a great. I said, I really am honored that you would call me, but I'm really digging the gig. And they go, oh, it's totally cool. And then Marco got that gig, Marco Soccoli, which
Right.
I think was probably the better thing at the time for Vic. I think it was great for them to get Marco at that time.
Yeah.
And Marco did such a great job while he was there. And so I continued on Yamaha. And then there was another time when some of my kids were born, and I was like, LA was getting very difficult, and they had called, but it was for more of a sales position. And I didn't want to go to sales. That wasn't
Right.
that's not my bag. So fast forward to 2010. So I'm at Yamaha 2009, and then they went, because of 2008, I guess, the economy, they let a lot of people go, myself being one, and my assistant, whose name was Jordan Barth. Another really great guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, really good guy. And so our department got wiped out. So I had a year of nomadic life. We hooked up in Rochester when I was during that time. I remember hooking up with you.
Yeah.
And then
everything was changing then.
Yeah, it was crazy time. It was really crazy, and it was a very difficult time to have 4 kids in diapers, and trying to figure out what you're going to do. It was not great, but it, not great things tend to shape you. They tend to make you into something.
Trial by fire.
So, anyways, I don't know. I ended up doing. We moved to Nashville because I thought maybe I might be able to find a gig in Nashville, and that wasn't working out. And then I did a cymbal summit. Jim Pettit at Memphis Drum Shop was doing the cymbal summit thing where he was bringing all the cymbal companies in to do this, show off their different lines and stuff like that. And he wanted to film it, so he hired me to film it. So I was driving from Nashville to Memphis.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was driving there to Memphis, and I called Marco, and he told me he was going to be, just to catch up for no reason, really, just to catch up. I hadn't talked to him. We were talking. He was telling me he was going to be might be leaving Vic for D'Addario. And anyways, I ended up getting a call, and Vic called me that weekend. He's like, listen, I tried to hire you 2 times already. This is the last time I'm trying. I said, I'm there.
What a great opening line.
Yeah, that pretty much was it. And so we ended up moving up the Boston area, and working for Vic was just such an amazing moment. It was a flashback to working for Sandy.
Right.
It was
on a personal level.
Field, a legendary guy who just it's like the Remo, the Armins, the Vics, the Sandys. They're just legendary people in our industry, and
good people and charismatic. Yeah.
Yeah, and having the ability to have worked for Sandy and then Hagi for a moment, and then Vic, it's just like it's true blessing, really, in all seriousness. And so I worked for Vic, and then Vic, was getting older, and both Kelly and Tracy weren't interested in taking the business, so he ended up selling it to Zildjian. And then a few years later, what was great is I'm working with Johnny, in a weird way. Like he was Zildjian, I was Vic, but we were in the same company. Like the company Zildjian owned both, but they were run independently. And it was kind of great to be able to hang with my older brother. It was really fun. And then he retired because he could. And so then for a few years, it was they had different people. Sarah was running it and things like that. And so then they hired a CEO, John Steffens, and then eventually John wanted to merge the AR departments into one. Yeah. And so then I don't know,
And it makes a lot of sense if you know both of the companies. They really go well together. And then you guys added the Mike Balter, the Mallets.
Yeah, the Balter, which is really kind of getting folded into under Vic now. I mean, it'll be, they're going to keep some of those the major.
Yeah, I was thinking about that this morning. There's a lot in common. I mean, everything seems to fuse together well.
Yeah.
I've got to ask you this though: what is it like to work for a company that has been around for 400 years? I mean, I woke up this morning going, "Good God!" I mean, I think you said in an interview they're the oldest music instrument company in the world. Is that true?
Oldest family-owned business.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it, I mean, man, 1623, bro. Yeah, Avidus the first. I mean, he literally created he created the alloy of the cymbal. Like, it's mind blowing, really. I mean, the history is such a great story. I mean, it's just an amazing story of 2 years, right?
Yeah. Did somebody make a really high quality documentary yet? Because it's such a good story.
There's a bunch. I mean, there's a bunch of, I believe it or not, a bunch of I think 60 Minutes maybe did something. There was a whole bunch of like worthy, really well done news stories that were done on it, at different times.
I had a new, very young student yesterday for the first time, and she's in my studio and asking me about the Zildjian cymbals, and she's like, what are these marks? I was like, well, the really good cymbals, somebody's actually making these with a hammer and banging them out. And just the look on her face to know that in this age, people still have that craftsmanship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff now, Armin automated not automated, but the hammering has been automated with the machines now.
Right.
But we've done some recent stuff where it's pretty phenomenal replicating hand hammering process with the machines, because you can't make that many cymbals. The demand is you can't do it by hand. And then what happened with when Armin did that, he was like, we're making 10 cymbals and maybe 3 or 4 may not be good. He's like, we got to get them all to be good. Yeah. Like, it's not fair to the customer. Like, he was trying to improve the output so that anybody would get a cymbal that would be great, and he did that really well. And they did that, and now we're even modifying it more, like I said, where it's getting even more. I mean, the new Karope line is just, I mean, the old, everybody talks about the old Ks, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the old Ks weren't great. Like, when you found a good one, they're amazing. They're unbelievable. But there's a lot of them that aren't. And, people sometimes get the misconception that, it's an old K, it's got to be great.
Yeah, and then you guys have such good consistency now. If you find a cymbal that you like and it breaks or whatever, you probably have a pretty good chance to find something similar.
Yes. Yeah, you can. I mean, there's variety within the lines, but you can find your sound, which is kind of cool. And now, like I said, the new Karopes, I mean, I heard a video the other day of the new Karope, this latest batch that came out. It's just incredible compared to an intermediate stamp that's really revered. And I could not tell the difference. Yeah. That's how it's pretty incredible. What's happening right now. It's pretty great stuff. So I'm excited for more of these to get out. It's just, they take a while to make. So
I've always wanted to know this. Now, one of my favorite artists was Prince, and when he died, he left a vault of music that they say there was 8,000 songs that nobody had heard. And I wonder, does Zildjian have a secret vault somewhere, kind of like the basement of the Vatican? Is there a place you can go and there's all kinds of magical cymbals nobody's seen?
Everybody talks about this magical vault. We have an artist vault, and there's some older stuff there that maybe, we have a place where we have every cymbal that's ever been made is libraried.
Oh, wow.
Right? But
is it like the end of the Raiders of the Lost Ark when there's just
it's kind of like that,
all kinds of crates, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what it's like.
Even if that's not true, I want to just imagine that's what it is.
Yeah. But there's bazillions of prototypes that we do all the time, that people don't always see. But, you can't put everything out. I mean, so there's quite a bit of stuff. I wouldn't say there's a vault, but the R&D guy, like Joe Testa, he's got a room with a lot of different things in it. I mean, he's always experimenting, always tinkering, and sometimes what eventually happens is one of those things just it'll keep bubbling to the top, and it'll be like, okay, that's coming out because it's too good to ignore. So it's kind of cool. Right, some of those other prototypes, people will be like, man, I want that. It's like there's always something people want that because no one else has it.
That's how we end up with things like a Swish knocker.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I actually have a favorite cymbal that I own by Zildjian. It's called the 19-inch Custom Hybrid Trash Smash. It is such a cool cymbal. It's not only for like loud music. I've played it with brushes, and it just has such a variety of sounds for every kind of music that I play. What's your favorite cymbal that you own?
Favorite cymbal that I own?
I know this is a tough one.
That is a tough one.
What is this cymbal if you had to play a gig that no matter what, you've got to bring this with you?
Right now, the 15-inch new beats, man, they're iconic and they work everywhere all the time.
15-inch? It's like a Led Zeppelin.
I like
type of
15.
Thing.
Yeah, I love the 15-inch. I don't know why. I told Rick the other day, I go, dude, you got to try. He goes, I usually use 13s. I'm like, you're 500 feet tall and you're using 13-inch high. What's wrong with you?
Yeah,
I said, you got to try. Yeah, I said, he goes, no, I use 14s. I'm like, you got to try the 15s, man. I'm telling you, you love it. He don't listen, though.
Yeah, man, it's like a John Bonham sound for sure.
But like 15s for him would be like 14s for you and I. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm pretty tall, but he's bigger than me.
But you take someone like Charley Drayton. Charley takes 16-inch hi-hats, man, and then he puts a splash cymbal in the middle to get a nice sloshy sound when he's rocking. I mean,
oh my god,
that's a dude.
That's
Charley
wild.
Drayton, you got to interview him. He is one of my faves, man. He is.
I love his playing with the expensive winos. Yeah, he's such a great musician.
Unbelievable. I'm telling you one right now, man. If you could take a video and have him like videotape Charley taking a brand new drum set and setting it up.
Yeah.
And how he preps the kit, it's a masterclass.
Yeah.
Like it's the most musical thing. When his instrument is one of the most musical things put together that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like
he's one of a kind.
He hits one cymbal and they all touch, so they all shimmer.
Yeah.
Like he's got that kind of thing. And Rick did that too. But like he's got stuff in the floor tom, so when he bangs it, they rat like it's just when he plays, it's
very
just
organic.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gorgeous, man. He's just such a great player.
Who is a drummer that we have not mentioned today that inspires you? Well, you said you liked hard rock a lot when you were younger. Tell me a drummer from that era who you really dug his playing.
I mean, Phil Rudd's such a great player, but I mentioned him. Yeah. I mean, well, dude, John Bonham is like...
Can't go wrong with that guy.
I mean, the groove is just...
By the way, incredible. If you have not read it, his new biography is incredible. I learned more from that book than the Led Zeppelin books.
Oh,
and then that new documentary, it has the only recorded interview with him ever. Unfortunately, it's only audio, but I showed it to my students, and wow. Just those guys were so natural.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. I mean, just it's thunderous groove. I mean, the more I've been playing lately, I just like I have to learn this Levon Helm tune. I got to learn the weight.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to that with a totally different perspective now. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's just so good. And guys like that, Rick has always been Rick and Jerry, Steve, Chris Parker, all those guys, man, they're just unbelievable. There's too many to really.
Yeah. And
then you always feel like you're leaving someone out and you get off the phone and you're like, I forgot. And then, they hear the interview and go, you didn't mention me.
there's so much good music. How about Vic Firth sticks? I have to play a gig next week in Vegas, and I always travel with Steve Gadd sticks or Steve Jordan sticks. And between the different models that they have, that's everything I need. Weight-wise and style-wise.
Yeah, good choice.
What do you like to use?
I'm currently using 85As, which is the same diameter as Steve's stick, but it's 16 inches.
Interesting.
And I've been warming up lately. I just like when I'm playing, just diddling on the pad there a little bit, during meetings.
Yeah.
I've been using Ash Sohn's new stick, which
he's such
has
a great
heavier. He's so good. It has a little bit front heavy vibe to it, but it's not, I really find it fun to use on the pad, lately. I change all the time, but
that's interesting.
85A seems to be the stick when I play all the time. I always go back to 85A.
I like that you're saying about how you use the weight of the stick, because in the current band I play, we play a lot of blues stuff, but there's definitely like a New Orleans kind of feel. And whenever I do that, I love Steve's black sticks because I can really play off the weight of them, the physics of them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just really.
It's a great stick, man.
And let me ask you this. I always want to know, it did change over the years, right? How they made those black sticks. I think I remember you telling me.
Yeah. Originally, the painted sticks were stained.
Right.
It was kind of a stain, and I loved that look. But the problem was the black tips would, everybody was complaining
All over your
about
drums. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so eventually they came up with the idea of, why don't we dip it by the tip, and then they started using, you can't stain that way though.
Yeah.
So they ended up, or if you do, then the stain leaks into the tip. Like it's a weird, because of wood. So they started painting them, and it's a much cleaner look, So
wow.
People seem to like it too. So
this is a quote by Steve Jordan, a drummer who we both totally dig his playing. He once said, "I remember I could sound exactly like Harvey Mason. I guess sound exactly like Steve Gadd. There was a period of time I could sound exactly like these people. I would even get to work as a studio musician because they couldn't get those guys. And then you get to a point where I don't want to sound like that. I want to sound like me." Now, when I heard Steve say this, I thought of like painters. A lot of people I like Salvador Dali or Picasso, they start out learning from the masters and then they develop their own style. So how would you relate your life to what Steve said there?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the fact that Steve can sound like any of those guys is incredible, right? Like it says how good he is as a player.
Yeah.
So that's incredible in and of itself. But the fact that he then decides that I want to be myself.
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing thing, right? How does that apply to me? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Think about it. Was there a time in your life where you were, it doesn't even have to be drums, that you were learning from other people's styles, and then over the years you developed your own? Did you ever look back and think about that?
Yeah, I think, in the job I'm doing, I had to do that. Because, you look back at like the guys who created the AR positions, Armin and Lenny and all those cats. I mean, those guys like
Titans.
But they partied hard, man. Like,
Yes.
And they knew how.
I'm old enough to remember that. That's all.
Well, they could do that. They could do that and still be business. Like, it was incredible.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not a partier. I just don't have it in me. I can't. If I have a drink, I'm freaking lit. Like I can't. I just don't. I'm not into it. It's just not. I like having a good time and having fun.
Yeah.
But I'm not like I can't be out like until 4 a.m, and get up 2 hours later and go to the NAMM show. I just. No. I had to learn to accept that I don't have to be that.
Yeah.
And like I learned. I was at first you get this peer pressure where you feel like you got to do all this and after a while you kind of go, but that's not me.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if people don't want to be with me because of that, well, then that's fine. I got to be okay with that. Yeah. And then I saw like Vic never did that. Vic never went out late.
Yeah.
He went to bed early before most people did. Like and no one had a problem with that. And I was like, it's not about that. It's about, I think in the end, it's about, do you do your job? Do you take care of people? And do you say what you mean what you say? And are you honest? You try to serve the musician. That's what the gig is. The gig is serving the musician, trying to make their life easier. And I just try to do that over and over again.
Yeah, and it's really more about them than about you anyway.
It has to be. And I don't always get it right. I'm human, you know what I mean? But I'm still learning and trying. I think that's the key.
And I think this too. As you get older, there's got to be an acceptance of who you are, good and bad. You just accept that, and then you work toward your strengths and your best attributes.
Yeah, and you try to get better. You got to always be trying to get better because, And I think the other thing too is to, try to leave something for the next generation. What's the point in all of it if you can't help the next generation? Absolutely. You can be here forever, So.
My last quote is from the one and only Questlove. Now, I got to say, I'm a big reader of books. I've read 3 of his books, and I don't have his one on cooking yet, but his ones on creativity are amazing. So this is from his book called Mo Better Blues, The World According to Questlove. So he says in there, music has the power to stop time. When I listen to songs, I'm transported back to the moment of their birth, which is sometimes even before the moment of my birth. Old songs, rock or soul or blues, still connect with me because the human emotions in them, whether jealousy or rage or hope, are recognizably similar to the emotions I'm feeling now. But I'm feeling all of them all the time, And so the songs act like a chemical process that isolates certain feelings at certain times. Maybe one song helps illuminate jubilation, and another helps illuminate the sorrow, and one helps illuminate the resignation. Music has the power to stop time, but music always keeps time. Man, Questlove is such a deep cat.
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that on any level.
Yeah.
It's the reason why music's the universal language, man.
Yeah, I mean, he says at the beginning, music has the power to stop time. And I think that saved all of us, right? At certain times.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Well, and if you haven't seen his documentary on Sly Stone, wow. Just watch that.
That's another one. I love Sly. I mean, that's Andy Newmark and Greg Rico. I mean, those guys are so good.
What a band.
So
way, way, way ahead of their time. Yeah, and at least somebody finally told the story straight up, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It has been great talking with you, Joe. And before I go, what would you like to promote? Are there any up-and-coming drummers who you're really impressed by? Are you guys doing any events with Zildjian and Vic Firth? How can people keep up with you? Are you mostly Instagram, Facebook, website? What's the best way to find out what you're up to and what's going on?
Yeah, I think, the best thing to see what Zildjian's doing or Vic's doing is to follow you follow the companies on Instagram because they're pretty current.
Yeah.
As far as up and coming, man, there are so many that I'd feel bad saying any one name and not.
Well, no, I got to be honest because I'm 55. I honestly cannot name a lot of young drummers. So can you tell me a couple drummers who blow you away, especially female ones? Because when I was growing up, all I heard about was Sheila E. and Gina Schock, who are great drummers, but still to this day, you don't hear about a lot of female drummers.
Man, Nikki Glaspie, you need to check her out. She's freaking amazing. If you're talking, I mean, I hate to separate female and male. I just look at people as drummers. I totally
agree, but you know what I mean. I think over history, it's been unfair that,
I mean, I'm going to say these two names just because we just did in New Orleans. We did our third annual Zildjian Jam in New Orleans, and Nikki was on it, and she just slayed. And then Tif Lamson, she plays with Shania Twain right now. She's a sweetheart, and she's got a beautiful voice, man.
Wow.
And she plays and sings great. She's really great, talented. That's just off, man. I mean, other guys like J.D. Beck, he's a younger cat. Pretty incredible. I guess Marcus Gilmore's not really young anymore, but he was young to me when I met him. He's 14. He was unbelievable back then. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot right now, but I would definitely check out Nikki, especially what will be coming out soon with some of the videos from the Zildjian Jam. That's something to be looking forward to.
Oh, cool.
They're really great. It was a really great show. In fact, I sent a bunch of videos to Rick when it was happening.
Yeah.
Because it has a little homage. That Zildjian Jam in New Orleans has a little bit homage to kind of the old groove nights we used to do.
Yeah, those
were
fun.
I knew Rick would have loved it. And the band is just phenomenal with Tony Hall and Ivan Neville and stuff. It's just great.
Oh, man, Ivan Neville? Wow.
Yeah, it's really great time. And so it happens every Tuesday between the two New Orleans Jazz Fest weekends. So
probably the best place to check these out at Instagram or on the websites.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
And do you guys have any cool products that just came out?
Yeah, the EF stacks just came out. They're really great. The best thing about it, really, in my opinion, is the cymbal, which is a new mechanism to help make stacks with. You can use it with any cymbals you want, but it makes it so easy to stack your cymbals, adjust the tension, and then put it on the cymbal stand real easy. They're freaking great. And then the new Carope line. Yeah. New Carope line, dude.
So they're bringing that back. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. The Carope has been kind of reworked, and it's going to be a minute before you start seeing them because they take a while to make, and the back orders are out through the roof right now. So, but I would definitely be looking for those because if you like the old K sound, you're going to definitely want to grab those. Check them out.
All right. Last question. Who started calling you the Fonz and why?
Johnny told you to ask that question.
No. I never knew the origin story, and I wanted to know
So
why is there a
on the mission-
Fonz and why is there a Viper?
So on the Mission for Gadd tour, one of the tours, I went out with those guys for a week.
Yeah.
And we were in, I believe, Nashville, and we were at a dinner. And Steve was always like, "Why are we doing these late dinners, man? You're killing me," you know. And so I'm at one end of the table, and him and Johnny are kind of at the other end of the table. And I don't know, it had been raining, I think, or it was cold. I forget, but my hair was kind of like slicked a little bit, you know, for whatever reason, for the weather.
Yeah.
And Steve leans over to Johnny and says something, and they both start laughing hysterically, looking at me, right?
Oh,
and I'm
no.
like, what? So then later, Johnny tells me, Steve looked at him and goes, "Hey, let's get the Fonz and get out of here." And so that was it. And then that was it. And then they've been calling me Fonz ever since.
Oh man. Yeah.
So you got the Doctor, you got the Viper.
Yeah, man.
So Fonz.
And a lot of people don't know how funny Steve is. He's such a funny guy.
Oh, he's
and a master joke teller.
Oh, he's so funny. So funny.
All right, man. Thanks so much for doing this talk. And
thank you. I hope there's something there.
Oh, no. A lot of wealth of information. And I'd love to have you back sometime to talk more because I have a lot of other questions.
Anytime, man. I love it. Thank you very much for even thinking of me.
All right. Appreciate it.